addicted to love. Hold on tight to your dream.
Hi everyone, welcome back for another video. This is part 2 of a 3-part series of videos covering a road trip in the Mini Electric. We're doing 218 miles, we're travelling via Fakenham where we're going to charge, then on to Boston, final destination Woodall Spa, and then the journey back, no charging at all, so we'll see how close we can cut it. The route I'm taking is the slower, more scenic route, and the reason for that is I want to head off to a pod point charger in Fakenham that I haven't tried before, and have a free charge to start with. Charger wise, it's not quite an oasis, but there is only one rapid charger within about 15 to 20 miles of Woodall Spa, so there aren't many choices on the doorstep. But because that one charger that's close by is BP Pulse, and that's not a particularly reliable network, then I'm going to avoid it and use alternative chargers. Part 1 covers the journey up until this point, so that's the first 35 miles, up to the first point where I'm charging. I'm charging quite early in the journey, but I only add 5 kilowatt hours, which I know sounds a little bit daft, but there's some method in my madness, so hopefully you've watched part 1 and understand where we are right now. I guess there's something worth saying that just as I've passed a roundabout with a signpost saying Dereham, the distance that I've travelled to Fakenham and trying this charger as a pit stop, it's about the same distance as Necton, so I think it shows a very good example of what the potential options are. If I wanted the fast route, if I was in a hurry, if I didn't want to do what I just did and charge for 45 minutes, and I only wanted a 5-minute or 10-minute stop maximum, then I could have gone A47 and gone to the Instavolt chargers at Necton, and I could have charged there. It really would have been a splash and dash, and I think doing it splash and dash on more chargers, so rather than going to one charger and charging up in one go, I honestly think that going along to a charger and just a splash and dash, add 5 or 10 minutes, it breaks the journey up, but it also makes you feel like you're not going to be charging for very long. It makes you feel like charging hasn't been an inconvenience. When you have to stop for an hour or more, it does feel like an inconvenience sometimes. So I think if I was in more of a hurry or I wanted more of a charging convenience, I'd have gone the Necton route and I would have charged there, or to another rapid somewhere else. But I think just adding 20, 30, 40 miles of range a go isn't such a bad thing if you've got the time, if you're not in a hurry to get to the end location. So I'm liking this trip so far. That for me it's all about learning what my options are in the Mini, because I've been really lazy so far, especially with lockdown with COVID. I haven't pushed the Mini at all. I haven't gone very far at all. I think the furthest journey I've actually done is in one direction, is going to the dealer to take the car back for a little bit of warranty work. So yeah, I haven't actually really been out in the Mini. I mean, it's only done 1,400 miles so far, so I haven't done a very good job of using and demonstrating the Mini yet. So today, it's a nice sunny day. I just wanted to go out for a drive, and I'm experimenting with range, leaving early in the morning, efficiency, which by the way, it's just dropped down to and gone back up again, gone back up to 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour. One thing that will be interesting, just carrying on with the range and efficiency issues, it will be interesting to see what happens with efficiency now that I've done that little charge and little stop and the weather's improved. Does it creep up above 4.7, which it was first thing in the morning when it was colder? So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening and testing the theories about the Mini's range and abilities and how far can I really rely on it going, and learning where all these charging locations are. Like I said earlier, it's about knowing where the petrol stations are. Now I need to know where all the charging locations are and feel confident with them. Not feel, oh, I've never been there before, so I don't want to go there. I want to add confidence to my trip planning and journeys, and not just rely on an app where it says there is a charger there and it should work, only to find when you get there you've got a bit of a problem. I don't have to do it this slow route. You know, I'm not demonstrating how to be an idiot and take forever in an electric car. That's, you know, it's not the point of this video to show you how bad charging is and how slow it takes. I'm choosing to do this because I'm choosing to build up some options in my toolkit for charging when I go out on a trip, so I know where they are and I'm confident with them. That's all I'm doing this for. And yeah, my game is good efficiency and also low cost. So although it would be really convenient to go to an Instavolt charger, I'm choosing not to. So please don't take this as a bad example. It's just an example of what you can do and the choices that you have and the difference that it makes. And it's that analysis, that difference, that's the crux of what this video is really about. I'm choosing something that you probably won't choose, but by doing so, I think I'm showing what the options are, and I'm talking about the options that I'm considering. So I hope that's useful to those that are watching. If not, at least I hope it's interesting to see what an idiot I am charging on such slow rate chargers just because it's free. What a penny pinching tight arsehole. Which of course isn't the point, is it? I'm not doing it to save money. It's really not an issue at all. Talking about the money side of things though, the one thing that does appeal to me is the OCTOPUS Energy Juice network. I really do like the idea of being able to now use any charger that's part of the Juice network with OCTOPUS Energy, and I use a Juice network card, RFID, to initiate the charge, and the payment goes to my OCTOPUS Energy home bill. So I don't have to set up any new details, I don't have to set up a new account, I don't have to set up anything, because my RFID card that I have for Juice Network links through to the OCTOPUS Energy account and all my personal details. So it's held in one place only, and it's multiple networks, including Osprey, Alpha Power, Ionity, Hubster, and others. Now, unfortunately, BP Pulse, of course, probably won't be part of that because the oil companies are trying to do their own thing. So that's a real pain, because if BP Pulse did link up with Juice Network, then I would have tried those BP Pulses in Coningsby and Woodall Spa as my first choice car charging. Now, why is that? And it's because I think I trust OCTOPUS Energy, and I like the idea of this Juice network, and I don't need an account, I don't need an app to log on to. It's all very simple and very easy, so that really does appeal to me. And I can only hope that more networks join up with the Juice network and OCTOPUS Energy, because it will be a brilliant one-stop shop for charging your electric car if you're with OCTOPUS Energy for your home electricity and or gas, of course. And I guess that's the aim for them, isn't it? They want to have a closed shop of services that you use, and yeah, it's a great idea. Whether someone like Instavolt would come along and go into it or not, it depends how independent they want to be. I really do like the idea of the Juice network. So I'll talk about that on another occasion, and I'm actually going to go out and try it and see how long it takes to come through on your account and those sort of things. So I'll talk about that another time. Anyway, bye for now. I'll give you an update later when we get to Boston. One little side note that I've noticed, putting the sat-nav on, it says we've got 45 miles to go until we get to Boston, where I'm planning to try another charger, and we've got 90 miles of indicated range on the car. So there you go, 45 miles to go, 90 miles of indicated range. It's going to be interesting to see what the indicated range is of the Mini by the time we get there. Will it be higher than 45 or will it be lower than 45, based on the guessometer and the efficiency that we're doing. So yeah, interesting to see how that works. I know so far the Mini GOM is pretty useless. It starts out really pessimistic, and then as you get down to 30%, it seems to gradually get more accurate. So basically it doesn't produce the miles to go at all as you're driving along, and eventually at the lower percentages gives you an accurate number. So I guess that's all right for when you're running really low. but it's no good for this sort of planning. If I was planning now to drive 90 miles and push it as far as I can to get to a charger, it's probably not going to be right, because I can probably go further than 90 miles. I'm guessing I could probably go another 100, 105 miles. We'll see. We'll see what that GOM says later on. Cruise control at the moment, 30 limit, put it down to 30, 33, 32, yep. Slows down nice. Cruise control in the Mini is nice. It's not as good as the Kona with the radar control and lane follow assist, etc. I was driving along earlier and I hadn't got the camera set up on the windscreen, and I wanted to just load it up. And it's the first time I've noticed that in the Kona I would have just been in auto cruise control with lane follow assist, taken my hands off the steering wheel, and the car would have steered, and I've got 20 or 30 seconds to put the camera on the screen and everything is completely safe. In the Mini I've got a couple of seconds before the car's diverting elsewhere, so even on cruise control there's no self-steering. It's not going to adjust and follow the road at all. So yeah, it's the first time that I've really noticed that the active cruise control and the auto steering that the Kona had was a really handy feature for doing things that you're not supposed to do anyway, fiddling with phones and mounting them while you're driving. So in the Mini, yeah, I knew I couldn't do it, so I pulled over and stopped and did it, which is of course what you should do. But autonomous driving gives you the ability, safely, so it seems, to not pull over and to do it while you're driving. Interesting thought, anyway. So again, just as I see something that's of interest to me, I think I'll turn the camera on and record it and share the information. I've just turned on the instantaneous miles per kilowatt hour efficiency gauge on the Mini. So I've got cruise control set, we're doing 50 miles an hour, and the instantaneous miles per kilowatt is saying 5.3, 5.7, 5.8, 6, 6.1, 5.7, 5.3, 4, 5, 5.0, 5.1, 5.2, 5.5, 5.6, 5.9. This feels like a pretty flat road, if not a little incline. So I guess where it's straight and even down a little, we got near at 6 miles per kilowatt hour, and where it's a little bit of an incline, we're going 5, but I haven't seen anything with a 4 at all. And that should give you a good idea of the efficiency of the Mini in cruise control, 50 miles an hour on a flat surface. Oh, there we go, 4.8, 4.9, just as it definitely feels as though it's uphill a little. 4.4, 4.2, 4.7, 5.3, 5.5, 5.4, 5.1. 6.3. Yeah, the incline's over now. We're back into the 5s, up to 6, 5.2, 4, 5.9, 6.0, 6.4 was the highest there. So yeah, the average that I'm going to be having on this trip, if the efficiency carries on like this, is going to be a lot better than the 4.7 that I set off with from Fakenham. So very good news. But I just thought I'd share and see what's going on. So anyway, let's do another little test. Let's increase the speed to 55 miles an hour. And yeah, it's gone to 2 miles per kilowatt hour while we're accelerating. Let's see what the instantaneous miles per kilowatt hour is now that we've increased 5 miles an hour. 5.4, 5.2, 5.1, 5.0, 4.9, 5.4, 5.5, 5.7, 5.4, 5.2, similar enough flat that instead of mid 5.5s to 6 at 50 miles an hour, we've got low 5 miles per kilowatt hour up to 5.5. So it's probably dropped 0.2, 0.3 miles per kilowatt hour. So yeah, interesting to see what the difference was with just 5 miles an hour. Still not arrived at Boston, but another interesting observation. I'm down to 67% battery state of charge. We've now done 77 miles in total. The efficiency says 4.9 miles per kilowatt hour, which seems a bit low. I'd have thought it should have gone up into 5 by now, because we've been getting really good efficiency from here. But the range guessometer says 91 miles left to go. Hang on a minute, isn't that more than what we set out with from Fakenham? I'm a little bewildered, but the guessometer seems to have adjusted up quite a lot and says now we've got 91 miles of range to go with only 66% battery. So maybe that's based on we've just been going on a piece of road where there's new stone chippings on the road and the speed has been reduced, well, supposedly to 20 miles an hour, but basically if you drive at 20 miles an hour, every car behind you is just going to overtake you and spray you with stones. So you have to drive it a little bit faster to appease the drivers behind. But anyway, I thought I would share 91 miles of range to go apparently, with now 67% of battery, and yeah, 5 miles per kilowatt hour is now the average consumption for the entire trip. Okay, we've arrived at Boston, Tesco, Pod Point. Interesting that even this Tesco Superstore isn't on the mini map. So as a point of interest, when I said I want to navigate to Tesco Boston, it took me to Boston Road, Spalding. The actual Boston Tesco's isn't on the maps, let alone the charger not on the maps. Let's adjust this a little bit. Right, so efficiency wise, what have we done? Let's have a quick look. We're charging now. We've got 58% battery state of charge. The average for the entire trip is 5 miles per kilowatt hour. We've travelled 90 miles in total. And range left to go, 76 miles. It just clicked over to 77, but that's because we're charging. So 76 miles. Well, hang on a minute. It was 90 miles to go and 45 miles for the trip, wasn't it? So we should have arrived here with 45 miles of range, according to the GOM in the Mini when we set off from Fakenham. But with some slower driving, the range to go has increased significantly, even to the point where it was more than what we set off with. Very, very odd how the Mini is adjusting later into the journey rather than my historical driving. So some people would say, well, yes, it's based on prior learning. Well, my average for my entire use of this car for all 1,400 miles is 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour. Well, that's not far off what we're getting now. So why is it trying to work out a range of less than the average I've got for the entire life of the car? It must be some hard-coded stuff that's in there. And for this trip itself, and for the last, I would say last 200 or 300 miles, I've been averaging more than 5 miles per kilowatt hour. So again, the learning in the Mini on how it's learning my driving style for the guessometer, the GOM, is not very good at all, because it's not using my past track record. What it appears to be doing is using some hard-coded things to be pessimistic about what range you should get if you drive normally and a little bit faster than perhaps I am, but it's ignoring the efficiency I get until you get into the journey, and now it's adjusting. So it is really good to do these sort of trips to train your mind as to how your car really works and understand its range, because if you just drive around and rely on these GOMs, the distance to go gauges in the cars, I don't think it's going to build faith and trust with you with the car, and I also don't think you're going to be able to judge it very well for charges, and you're going to get a bit more range anxiety about, will I reach the charger or won't I? What you need to learn with your electric car is faith and trust in what it's telling you, and understand the car's ability. And I think I've now learned, both with the Kona electric and with this Mini electric, is it's not the range that it shows to go that's important. What's important is the miles per kilowatt hour average that you're getting, and your knowledge as to whether you're going to get better than that or worse later in your journey or on the return trip, etc. And then you can work out, well, 5 miles per kilowatt hour, and I know I've got 28.9 kilowatt hours usable battery. Okay, there might be some degradation in there, but you know, the car's brand new, so it should be 28.9 kilowatt hours available. Call it 29. That is 145 mile range. So today I should be able to get 145 mile range. I think by the time I get back home today, I'll be seeing 5.2, 5.4 miles per kilowatt hour, or maybe even a bit better. So based on that, we could be getting 150 plus miles of range from the Mini. Then when you think about, well, I'm doing a 214, 218 mile trip today, and if I can get 150 miles range out of the car, I'm only adding 68 miles of range. And at an average of 5 miles per kilowatt hour, that's 15 kilowatt hours. So I only need to add 15 kilowatt hours of energy, potentially, if I get really, really good efficiency. So if I had an hour stop at Fakenham, which I didn't quite do, I think it was 45 minutes, and an hour stop here, that should be 14-ish kilowatt hours, and then a little bit of charge loss from the heat dissipation. That's probably about 12 kilowatt hours. So I need more than 2 hours charging, but less than 3 hours charging, which was what I thought initially is what I would need. So 3 hours charging on free pod point chargers, well, yeah, that's not the nicest thing in the world to do, is it? I don't think I'd be very happy with that at all. But 2 hours charging, an hour somewhere else, and an hour here, that's not too bad at all, is it? It seems a bit odd though, because I don't know if I could do that. If I sat here for an hour now and added 7 kilowatt hours, that's adding, well, let's say we had between 20 and 25%. Probably 25% is the most I'd get for just over an hour of charging. 25% would give me 82% of battery. So would I now go on from here to Woodall Spa and then return back and do 106 miles? Well, if I trusted the car can do 140 mile range, then yes, I would do that. I don't need much more than 80-ish% in the car. But for added comfort and contingency, I'd probably feel more comfortable charging up to 90%, wouldn't I? So yeah, interesting stuff here. That if you truly believe in the car's efficiency and drive cautiously, I could dramatically reduce the amount of time I spend on these free pod point chargers. But if I didn't care about my efficiency whatsoever, and I just drove any old how or faster, then I wouldn't have had to do these free stops at pod points at all. I could have just done a splash and dash at Necton and a splash and dash at an Instavolt in Boston. There's apparently one quite close here. And also I could have used or tried the BP Pulse one at Coningsby. So yeah, if I'm in a hurry, using a rapid charger and paying for it makes sense because it's convenient. But the fact that I'm going to sit here with the camera on it, and the camera is showing 7 minutes. Can you believe I've been videoing for 7 minutes? Are you really listening to this all the time? You sad people. Anyway, if I know I'm going to stop for a little bit and I want to go into Tesco's and actually buy something this time, then I haven't had any breakfast or coffee yet this morning, so I do need that. Then it's not so bad, because I could easily spend, well, like I say, 5 or 10 minutes just chatting here, and then also I could also spend say half an hour just having something to eat here. So before you know it, I've added a little bit of charge, and it hasn't cost me any time at all. So if I now do that and then go off and have a wander around Boston for a little bit, before you know it, the hour will disappear very, very fast. It's only going to seem slow if you just sit here going, come on, charge, hurry up. I wish it was charging at 100 kilowatts. But I don't have to, do I? It's 8:15 in the morning, and I've just driven 90 miles to get here, and it's not so bad. In the Kona, yeah, I wouldn't have stopped at either, so I wouldn't have had to leave. I wouldn't have left at 5 in the morning. I might have left at 6 in the morning to have arrived in Woodhall Spa for 8 something, where now it's going to be 9 something or 10 something before I get to my final destination, which is my favourite butcher's. That's why I'm coming over here, just to stock up the fridge with my favourite sausages and bacon. That's about it, really. A good excuse for a drive. Anyway, right, I need to sign off now. I will give you another update when I notice something or when I arrive at my final destination, and we'll see how much charge we've added. I don't know exactly what I'm going to add. It looks like if I get to, I don't know, 82%, that's probably enough to get me back at least to Norwich. And I could use the Lidl pod point if I really had to, if I didn't have enough miles to get home, because that's 10 miles out from home. So potentially I could go with 80%, and it's going up quite quick. It's at 61% now, so maybe I could do that, maybe not. Anyway, got to sign off because got to log on to the pod point. Catch you later. Okay, so I've just been for half an hour's walk. I'm getting to the point now where I'm happy to set off and go, but just checking how much charge I really need. So if you say the car can do 144 miles of range in total, and I need 124 miles to get home from here, so it's 17 miles to my final destination, 17 miles back to here, and then the 90 that I've just done, so 124 in total. 124 versus 144 potential range of the car should be 86%. So if I get to 86% state of charge, I should be safe to go and not have to charge any more at all. That's the theory anyway, but that's cutting it to the last mile and to 1% and being empty. But I actually think I might get a little bit more than 144 mile range. So anything around what I've got now, 83%, up to 90%, should be enough to get me home, but with no contingency and going absolutely empty. So this is decision time. Do I play the game a bit more and try to judge it squeaky bum to be just enough, or do I just be patient and wait a little bit longer and add some contingency, which is probably the sensible thing to do. I don't want to make this a dramatic video where will I make it or won't I make it. This is more informative about the guessometer, the range to go, and how to judge your trips and how to do it differently, not just rushing as fast as you can between rapid charges. Yeah, so I think I'll wait just a few more minutes and get to the 86% ish, and then set off. But yeah, 86% is 124 mile range, and we're only showing 114 mile range at the moment, so just goes to show that the GOM is slowing down. Even when it gets to 100%, this is only going to show about 120 miles. It won't show the full 144. So there's no point waiting until the GOM says 124 and then I can go, because that'll be too much, and it will probably keep charging all the way to 100%. And this is one of the strange things with the Mini, that I've been charging now for I would say an hour and a half, but no, an hour and 20 minutes at 7 kilowatts. But what was the state of charge when I first started charging? Was it 67%? Something like 66%? Something like that? In which case it's only gone up 17%. So the sort of maths on how many kilowatt hours are going in versus what the state of charge says isn't quite adding up. And It's one of the problems with the Mini that it's not showing me a charge rate. So if I try to calculate how many kilowatt hours have gone in based on the state of charge, it'll make out that I'm only getting 3 or 4 kilowatts of power at the moment, and it's sort of misleading. It really does need to show how many kilowatts you are charging at the rate, so that you know how many kilowatt hours you're adding to the car, as well as how many miles. I suppose it's a bit of a frustration, isn't it, that coming from a Hyundai Kona, where it was much more accurate and its intelligent learning of your driving style and range was better than the Mini, because the state of charge, might be accurate or might not, but it's not going up as granular with the amount of kilowatt hours I'm adding, and the range isn't really going up accurately either in this, and it's not showing me how many kilowatt hours I've added or how many kilowatts rate we're charging at. So it's not really giving me enough information to be absolutely accurate. I'm having to be either really cautious and believe the 114 miles, in which case I've got to keep waiting now and charge some more, or I've just got to do my own thing and ignore all these numbers, which is basically what I'm going to do. I think if you didn't know before, then I think this video sort of shows it, that my style of doing everything is to do it differently. I don't like doing what everyone else does, so I like to take the road less travelled by. Yeah, I'm ready to go now. So I've checked the state of charge and the miles, and although the GOM says 118 miles and I've got 124 to go, I think I've got enough charge, and I think I've got enough charge without any detours to get home with 4 or 5 miles to spare, or 4 or 5% spare. So I'm gonna go, because I just feel ready. And if it gets squeaky bum tight on the way back, then I'll stop for another charge, because there are others. But I'm ready to move on now. So with 118 miles, 90% state of charge, I'm unplugging and saying goodbye to Boston, sunny Boston. It's now 18 degrees outside with the car sat here in the sun. It is lovely. So I need to get home, plug it in for the solar, don't I? Anyway, off to Woodall Spa we go.
And my next video, part 3, well, it throws a real wobbly into all those range calculations that I've just done. It says I've got insufficient range.